This is a story about the time that I bribed the cops. What's up, everybody? My name is Josh, and I am here to share my life with you online. In videos like this, in storytime videos, kind of sessions like this. And this time we are talking about the time I bribed cops. Now, I don't think this is the only time I've done it. And I actually even don't know if it's the first time I've done it. I am not coming off good in this video, but that's okay, because this is a story that I have. So the way it happened was, as every good story will begin with, me and some friends were getting drunk. We were getting drunk. There's separation between two cities here in Gauteng in South Africa. For those of you who are here and know this, the differences, we were in Joburg and a bunch of people were in Pretoria, and we were like, hey, let's head down to Pretoria for the night and spend the night there and have some fun and get cockamamie and whatnot. So that's what we were going to do. We packed our bags. At this point, I was doing this often, so I actually had a bag ready. I just threw it in the car. I was like, let's go. Everyone else had to get their bags, but I had spent maybe about 3 hours on the road, driving around and picking everyone up. It was really a fun day. I think it was a Friday afternoon, and I had gotten off. I made sure to get off work early so that I could have the afternoon with the peeps, get in the car and all drive, because I'm that guy in this specific group. I'm that guy who picks everyone up and we go on a voyage together. I headed there and just pick up. Then there was another pickup here in my area, a roundabout, and then we headed on the highway to Pretoria. And the highway was completely fine. Everything was fine there. We had no issues. Oh no, actually there was one, we almost crashed, because people on the highway are stupid, basically, that's why. But on highways, when you have that moment where just everybody has stopped and there's absolutely no reason why that should happen, but it has happened, that's what happened, and it happened all of a sudden. So I was like, hey, really heavy on the brakes, which was kind of funny because we were all really jamming out to tunes, windows down, and then it was just silence. And then my friend next to me, she goes, well, that was a mood killer. Not really though, like we got the mood back up pretty quickly. And then we headed on our journey, the rest of the journey back into Pretoria, where we then met up with other friends. Now, I don't remember the exact meeting up. There were a lot of times like this in that time of life. So I don't remember where we met up or who all was there. I'm remembering a very big meetup in my head where we had about almost 20 people in a 3-room apartment. Main room, bedroom, and I don't think that was this time though, but that was a really fun night as well. Nonetheless, let's move on to the actual juicy bits of the story. So we then went clubbing, of course. Everyone that knows Pretoria knows the strip. We went along the Pretoria strip and we were just hitting up. Now bear in mind, this was during lockdown. I think it was stage 3 lockdown at this point, so it's still pretty hectic, still a pretty intense curfew. And the cops were still roaming the streets left, right, and center looking to take bribes. Of course, we were going to fall into the trap. Why? Because actually there's juice to the story. We'll get into why. So we were going ahead and we had our partying, we had some drinks, we had some fun, then we hit the road. I took everybody to their respective homes or places of stay. And then we got to, me and 2 other people booked a bed and breakfast. Yes, that's right. We booked a bed and breakfast. We headed there. Then one of our other friends said, hey, he doesn't want to stay where he's staying. Can he come to us? Now, the juice here is that his best friend got with one of his ex-girlfriends, and his best friend and his ex-girlfriend were together in the other room in the same apartment as him, obviously gefuffling and having fun. So he was like, I do not want to be hearing this. The reason we all got together was because he was going away. He was actually immigrating to Portugal. So we were like, okay, cool. It's your night. We're gonna accommodate your craziness. And we went and picked him up. And at this point, it was very late. So we were like, we know we're on the border now. We know that if the cops stopped us, we're gonna be in shit. But we were like, what's the harm? I've dealt with cops a lot, so I don't feel too shaken up by them anymore. At this point, I was a little bit shaken up because this was a new experience with cops. No, it actually wasn't, but it was deeper experience because there were other people around, but we'll talk about that now. So we went and picked him up. We then dropped someone else off so he could stay there, so we had room in the Airbnb. We then all went down to the Airbnb. We were making our way. Before we got there, though, some dudes saw my friend in the front seat. She lit up a joint, and the windows were down while we were waiting for him to come down his building. And then a couple guys passed by and noticed the joint, so then they all joined in and we were all chatting. Then they were like, hey, can we get a ride? And at this point, I should have said, no, dudes, I'm sorry, it's late, we can't do that. But I was like, hell yeah, dude, get in the back seat. We squished 4 people in the back, 1 in the front, and then me driving, and we were heading. So these guys told us, they were like, we're just around the corner. 20 minutes later, we arrive not even at their destination. We arrive on a road that's heading to their destination, a main road, and that's where the cops pull us over. Now, before this, I was already getting suspicious. I was like, something's gonna happen. And then the cops pulled us over. And normally I can see the cops coming from a mile away. These cops, it's like they just were there. They weren't there, and then they were there right behind us. And it's like, no, man, these fucking cops, dude, are so fucking ridiculous. 90% of the time, not even kidding, you can give them some money and they'll leave you alone. 90% of the time, they hassle you until you give them money and then they'll leave you alone. And it's corrupt and horrible and it sucks. But in this case, it worked for me, so I'm not going to complain too much. So they pulled us over and they pulled me out of the car and they got the handcuffs out and they were like, you know that it's past curfew. I was like, yes, I know it's past curfew. I'm dropping these guys off. Bear in mind that the whole car smells of weed now. My friend, I keep wanting to say her name, but I'm not saying names on the channel, not unless I get permission from people. But she was sitting in the front smoking a J, and she had just, the cops pulled us over and she was like, oh shit, the cops, and she was like hiding this shit, and I was like, do you really think hiding stuff is going to make the smell go away, make the cops think we weren't doing this stuff? Like, come on. But anyway, she did her best in her panic state and she hit it. I don't know where she hit it. I think maybe she did a good job with it. But the cops didn't actually search the car. They just pulled me out and they said, you know, it's over curfew, blah, 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 blah. Have you been drinking? Yes, I've been drinking. Are you over the limit? No, I don't think I'm over the limit. They pull out the breathometer? Breathalyzer. They pull out the breathalyzer and they were like, if this is over the limit, we're going to take you into jail. So I was like, okay, cool, breathalyze me. And they breathalyzed me and I was over the limit. And I was like, oh shit, dude. I really didn't feel like I was over the limit, but here I am over the limit, driving my car after curfew, maybe 3 hours after curfew. And these guys are just having a fun time with me. They're dangling the handcuffs and they're like, you know, we're gonna take you in, blah, blah, blah. And I just had enough. At this point, I was realizing what was going through my head. Because on one hand, I was like, it's just the fucking cops being pigs. And on the other hand, I was like, this could actually be some serious shit. I don't mind for myself, but I mind for the people I was with, especially this dude who was going to Portugal. He wasn't supposed to get in any criminal activity, right? So now here we were doing criminal activity. Technically, he was a bystander of it, but technically that's still an issue, right? I don't know Portugal's laws. I don't know what they accept or don't accept. So I was like, okay, now I actually have to be proactive and do something to get these cops away because the dudes in the back are panicking. My friend in the front is panicking. She's like, she doesn't know what's going on. The dude who was leaving to Portugal is sitting there out of his mind, like, I'm not going to get to Portugal, I'm not going to get... So I was just like, okay, let's do something. I looked the cop in the eye, because there were 4 of them. So this is how they do it. They gang up and they hassle you until you give them money. This time, it worked. I looked at the dude in the eye, dangling the handcuffs, and I was like, bro, how much is it gonna take for you to leave me alone? And he looks at me and he goes, what are you talking about? Like he doesn't know what I'm fucking talking about. And I was like, I have $1,000. Let me give you $1,000. That's what? 200 for each of them? No, 250 for each of them. And then we'll be on our day. The dude looks back at me and he says, how are you gonna get this money? And I said, I don't know how I'm gonna get this money, dude. I don't know this area, dude. But I have the money. Show me how I can get you the money and I will get you the money. He was like, okay, cool, there's an ATM just over there. He was fucking patrolling the road that has an ATM on it. Can we just Can we just take this in for a second? The cops don't give a shit about our welfare. They don't give a shit about crime. They give a shit about bribes. Not all cops, right? I've met some very good cops. Even some cops that were corrupt, I had a very fat chat with and we were good in the end, but still, it's an issue. Nonetheless, we were doing this. I got the money, I took it back to them. I literally just nonchalantly, I was even whistling or I was singing. I was doing something because there was a tune on my mind. Oh, I think it was a tune from the club. That was a song stuck in my head. So I was kind of just jamming to it as I was walking down this dark ass street with nobody on it because it's like 2 or 3 in the morning in curfew. Get out the cash, take it back nonchalantly. Finally, I get to the cops and I'm like, here you go, guys. Thank you very much. And then they go from like this, oh, we're gonna beat you up, to this, thank you very much. And then they get in their car. They don't even say don't do it again. They're literally just like, get in the car and leave. And then I was like, cool, man. I'm going to do the same thing. So I got in the car. I then drove, still giving these guys a lift to the rest of their home, which was still about 5 or 7 minutes away. This time we were now weaving roads. I don't know the area, so we kept going around and around to try and avoid all the cops around. Even if those same cops come back, they can say, but still, and then we're gonna have to be like, well, what the shit? So we had to try and avoid. Finally, we dropped them off. The dude took my number and he messaged the next day, one of the dudes, and I to this day haven't responded. And this was probably halfway in last year. So, and that's kind of just because I was like, I don't know if I actually want to. I just didn't feel like messaging him. Luckily, the dude didn't get a criminal record. He went off to Portugal the next day. None of my friends had any issues. And the dudes that we were driving home did get home safe in the end. So everything worked out. I don't remember where my friend and I stayed. Oh yeah, it was in the B&B. It was in the B&B. Because I keep trying to think about the exact moments. Because like I said earlier, I had a lot of moments where we did this sort of thing. So I'm trying to remember which times were which, where we stayed at which places and things like that. But this was that time. So anyways, that is the time that I bribed the cops. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please leave a like and a comment. Tell me if you've ever done something similar to this. If you've ever been caught drunk driving. I don't actually say go drive drunk. I mean, I literally made the cops breathalyze me, but whatever. I should have known better if I was drinking, and there's a time span to that, and that's a fact. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.